Don't forget to like and subscribe to follow good stories. 3 years ago, at Castle Bow ancestral seat of house, this is the atmosphere inside the grand billiards hall was thick with frustration. Count Wise paced restlessly, grumbling aloud. We can't postpone this any longer, Your Grace. Damien didn't even look up from the billiard table. He held back his subordinate with a calm wave. Just give me a little more time. You've already won 2 rounds, haven't you? Wise rolled his eyes. I wasn't talking about the billiards game. Then what were you talking about? Damien asked, still lining up his shot. Komiya chimed in cheerfully. I think Count Wise is worried because you're still unmarried, sir. Crack. The white ball shot forward with practiced force. Damien watched it glide across the table and sink a corner shot, then gave a half smile, utterly unbothered. Marriage, huh? Komiya added. His concerns are justified, though. With the prestige of house this is, any noble family would be honored to marry into your bloodline. So why do you keep brushing it off? Wise nodded vigorously in agreement. Damien casually wiped his cue stick and said, let me ask you, if it were you, would you really want to bind yourself to someone you don't even want to kiss? His words were sharp, deliberate. The other two fell silent, secretly conceding to the brutal logic. Around Damien, it was as if a blinding aura of conviction shimmered in the air. Oh heavens, we had no idea the Duke was such a hopeless romantic, Komiya muttered, half joking. Damien shot him a glare. Romantic? If I'm expected to share a bed with someone just to produce an heir, the least I can do is like her. Wise retorted. So in other words, you can't sleep with someone you don't love? That's literally the definition of romance. Damien waved it off. You're being annoying again. Forget all this love talk. I already have a plan in motion. Wise furrowed his brow and sighed, because he already knew what was going through their proud duke's head. The truth was, he'd already chosen someone. He remembered the battlefield years ago when chaos reigned, bombs fell, and soldiers scrambled in all directions. And there, in the middle of it all, was their commander, laughing like a madman. Oh, you should have seen her face, Damien had howled. Just standing there in the woods, holding a broken cane like it meant something. Then lecturing me about noble pride? Huh. You know what she said to me? She told me to win the war. He laughed even harder. It was like being scolded by a debt collector. Wise had nearly lost his mind dealing with this commander dodging bullets, dragging him out of danger. Commander, for God's sake, he'd shouted, you're about to get yourself killed. And I'm the poor soul who has to make sure your lunatic self stays alive. Wise could only sob quietly. She said, she was happy, truly happy to have been born and to leave this world from that tiny little territory of hers. He sniffled. Do you know how absurd she looked, Duke? Standing there like that, smiling as if none of it mattered. But the biggest shock came after the war. One day, Wise stormed into Damien's study, holding a stack of documents. Your Grace, what the hell is this? Are you trying to ruin the Verity girl? Damien didn't even blink. Nonsense. I'm not ruining her. I intend to make her mine. Why what? Wise blinked, dumbfounded. You mean, marriage? I want to marry her. That sentence hung in the air for 5 whole seconds before the young count finally shrieked. You what? If you fell in love at first sight, then stop playing around and propose to her already. Damien slammed his wine glass down on the table with a sharp clack. Who said anything about love? Wise flinched, sensing he'd struck a nerve. Damien scowled. Chloe Verity is simply the most suitable option among all the women around me. That's all. That's why I made the decision. Sweat poured down Wise's face. But, does that mean you're going to let her family go bankrupt? Damien replied coolly. The Viscount's failed business is his own responsibility. No one told him to run his house into the ground. Am I wrong? Wise fell silent. He couldn't think of a single word to counter that because, truthfully, Damien was right. Back in the present, Wise glanced at the Duke's flawlessly smug smile and muttered to himself, God gave him everything, but forgot to install a conscience, didn't he? Definitely. As he poured another drink, Komiya seemed to recall something. Come to think of it, time's flown. It's been 3 months since the Rose Castle banquet, hasn't it? Damien paused. His eyes darkened, flashing with a sudden chill. Yeah, it has been 3 months. Komiya asked innocently, and still no word from the Verity family? Wise broke into a cold sweat, silently panicking. He could already feel the rising fury burning beside him. Crack. The white cue ball slammed into another and scored. Damien said firmly, you don't need to worry about my marriage. Before the next season comes, you'll be hearing official news of my engagement. Komian nearly dropped his glass. My goodness, to be married to you, Your Grace, that would be the highest honor for any house. Damien replied flatly, I suppose so. Still, something tugged at him. That murky feeling, uncertainty, conflict slowly shifted in his mind into the image of a girl. The billiard cue hesitated midair. His pupils, like polished glass, softened for just a second. His gaze felt as though it had been drawn into those eyes. He swung the cue clack, but the shot veered completely off course. Across the table, the girl raised a brow and smirked. Lost again, Your Grace. Damien stood still, gazing at the girl carrying a basket of herbs, her tea-colored eyes quietly watching the world. For a moment, he froze, imagining Chloe right in front of him, mocking him with that half-smile of hers. A tangled wave of emotion surged in his chest. No, he muttered to himself, I've never lost to Chloe Vertier. Without warning, he tossed the billiard cue to Wise and said, I'm going hunting. I need to clear my head. Hunting? The Verity territory? Wise raised his voice in disbelief. But Your Grace, you can't just force. You are not coming on this hunt. Damien cut him off coldly. You'd only be a nuisance. But Duke Wise tried to object, but Damien added with a smirk. Besides, the food in Verity's domain is probably dreadful. Make sure all the freshest ingredients from the capital are delivered there in advance. He flashed a cunning smile. You know how picky I am. The next morning, at the This's estate, You're really going there dressed like that, sir? One of the aides asked, skeptical. Why not? Damien said haughtily, brushing invisible lint from his immaculate coat. Is there a problem? Wise hesitated. And not exactly. It's just. The aide furrowed his brow, unsure if he should speak frankly to his superior. In the end, honesty won. You look like a peacock. Like you're trying way too hard to impress someone. Damien said nothing, but made no move to change either. He was determined to show up at his future wife's estate dressed in gleaming, regal splendor. Yes, I get it, he muttered later. A peacock. Shut your mouth, will you? Throughout the entire journey to Verity Lands, Damien heard the whispers and comments from the attendants behind his back about his polished boots, his ornate collar, his glinting cloak. But all he could think about were Wise's words from the night before. Your Grace, do you truly intend to approach Lady Verity with all the love and respect she deserves? Damien had scoffed. Love? How absurd. That fleeting emotion, how could it ever be the measure of something as serious as this? Still, the memory of 3 months ago gnawed at him. I extended my mercy, and in return, she gave me silence. For 3 months. That's not like her, not the Chloe Verity I know. From what he had gathered, Chloe Vertier knew how to distinguish between public duty and private feeling. The look in her eyes when she spoke of a noble's responsibilities, it wasn't false, not even for a second. She would never be petty enough to dismiss an expression of gratitude simply because of emotion. No, she had to have her reasons, and Damien intended to find out. As Damien rode, a strange thought struck him. Something didn't feel quite right. Wait, what if I've been wrong about her all along? What if all the assumptions he'd made about Chloe, her sense of duty, her sharp discernment, were entirely misplaced? What if she simply hates me? The idea sank deep into him, leaving a hollow silence in its wake. A truth he'd never dared consider now echoed in his mind, and for a moment, all movement halted. But so what? He thought, and snapped the reins harder, pushing his horse faster. He sped toward Castle Verity, where the woman who had ignored him for an entire season now waited. In the capital, the citizens flooded the palace gates to welcome back their emperor and empress. Long live His Majesty! Long live the Empress! Glory to House This is. Damien looked down and asked gently, Are you nervous? Chloe hesitated. I won't lie. Of course I'm nervous. Without warning, Damien wrapped an arm around her waist. Chloe's eyes widened in shock. Wait, no, don't. Too late. With complete shamelessness, the man lifted her into his arms before the eyes of thousands. Put me down, she gasped, face flushed red. Chloe, Damien said softly, look around you. Take it in. All of this, it's in your hands now. The crowd roared in admiration, cheering wildly as their emperor displayed his affection openly for the woman beside him. Chloe's heart thudded in her chest. When Damien looked into her eyes and nodded, silently asking her to respond, she knew what to do. Damien had always given. He would surely receive. So now, she would give back everything that truly mattered. I love you too, Damien, she said, tears rolling down her face. I love you. So much. He smiled like the sun, radiant, overflowing with joy as he looked down at her tear-streaked cheeks. Do you know how messy you look right now? He teased. Your whole face is covered in tears and snot. And yet you still look at me, she replied, even when I'm a complete mess. 3 months later, in Swanton, Chloe received a letter from her younger sister sent all the way from the Principality of Quarter. Dearest Chloe, when I saw the photograph of your coronation in the newspaper, I couldn't stop laughing. I swear, in the entire history of Swanton, you'll probably go down as the only queen whose husband openly showed her affection during a state ceremony. Anyway, even though we're family, I still have to say this honestly. I hope you can forgive my husband and me. After all the awful things you and your Damien had to endure in Quarter, I know it might be hard. And no, Anna probably won't apologize, but please understand, he's sincere. He really is. Also, even though we argue like cats and dogs, I can't bear to be away from him. So please, don't worry about me too much. By the way, Father visited Quarter recently. He said he plans to spend the rest of his life playing with his grandchildren. I'm just relieved he's no longer thinking about following Mom into the afterlife. A few days ago, I stopped by Genova just like you said. Jules has truly become a wonderful missionary. He's always hoping for happiness for all of us. I'm glad he's finally found his own peace too. There's so much more I want to tell you, but Anne keeps pestering me for attention. I promise I'll write again soon. With all my love, Alice, who's slowly becoming an old woman too. As Chloe reached the end of the letter, she held it gently in both hands, a soft smile forming on her lips. Chloe, hurry up and come here. Her mother-in-law's shrill voice echoed through the hallway, making her jump. Yes, mother, she called back. Are you back from the palace today? Prilla let out a long sigh. Damien still being overly dramatic about the this is a state, she muttered. That boy keeps insisting no one can manage the place without him. Why is he so difficult, Don't you think so? Then, without waiting for a reply, she reached over and held a delicate earring up to Chloe's ear. This one suits you much better, my dear. Chloe blushed and gently stopped her. I really don't need another gift, mother. You've already given me so many dazzling pieces of jewelry. I couldn't possibly accept more. Oh, heavens, Prilla exclaimed, clearly scandalized. You're far too frugal, sweetheart. You're the empress now. You have to uphold the dignity of the entire empire. Just look at your younger sister, she dresses head to toe in the finest pieces. Isn't that unfair? She didn't wait for an answer. Swanton's royal treasury isn't any poorer than the principalities, you know. As empress, your appearance must match your station. And you're not just any empress, you're beautiful and educated. I truly don't understand you sometimes. Chloe simply stayed silent, overwhelmed by her mother-in-law's spirited lecture. After finishing her energetic speech, Prilla declared that there was no need for Chloe to see her off, and instructed the servants to begin loading her luggage into the carriage. Chloe looked flustered. Mother, perhaps I should accompany you back to this is to help out. Prilla stopped in her tracks and sighed theatrically. Oh, Chloe, you really do know how to make my son feel abandoned. Chloe froze. Guilt tugged at her chest. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. There's no need to apologize, darling. Prilla gently brushed a lock of Chloe's hair behind her ear. You're my daughter now. It's only natural for children to worry about their parents. I'm sure your own mother and father would say the same. Chloe's eyes shimmered with a hint of tears. She fumbled for words. At least, please wear an extra coat. It gets cold in this even in the summer. Prilla laughed heartily. Oh, this child. Just then, familiar footsteps approached. Damien wrapped an arm around his wife and spoke with playful mischief. I'm starting to feel a little jealous here. I didn't think this goodbye would take so long. At this rate, I might have to send Chloe off with you, mother. Prilla waved her hand dismissively. No, I don't want the emperor shirking state duties on my account. I'll go alone. Damien, Chloe scolded. You can't speak to your mother like that. What did I say? He replied, completely unbothered. Looking at her son now standing tall, firm, and grounded beside his wife, Prilla smiled in quiet satisfaction. Perhaps Damien had found a kind of comfort that even a parent could never truly give. After bidding her mother-in-law farewell, Chloe found herself feeling increasingly unsettled. Everyone, it seemed, had been treating her far too delicately these days. Damien replied casually, That's to be expected. It's how people show respect to their empress. No, Chloe said, shaking her head. Let's be honest, this castle belongs to you, not me. Damien looked at her for a long moment and smiled. Let out a sound as if he had suddenly remembered something. Ah, have I never told you about that? He said. The Rose Castle, it now belongs to you. Chloe, I've already given it to you. Chloe's eyes widened in surprise. My lord, what do you mean? Since when exactly? Damien replied, on paper, it became yours sometime after you left me. But the truth is, I had made that decision long before. Chloe stood silently for a long moment, taking in his words. Then she asked softly, aren't you curious about how long ago I knew? I think I can guess now, she said. Then when was it, Chloe? He asked. Suddenly she remembered. The memory came rushing back, her very first invitation to a ball, the feeling of stepping into the rose garden under the summer night sky, with his strong arm gently guiding her. Was it that first time you invited me to a party here? She asked. That summer night, right in this garden. He looked at her, a quiet smile in his eyes. Do you know what I wished for in this place? At that very moment, he asked. She thought to herself, I guess now we finally understand. Damien knelt down on one knee right in front of where she was standing. Now it's your turn, Chloe, he said. Only then can we truly cast aside everything. Our pride, our past, our masks. At that moment, their lips finally parted. Damien gently lifted his wife into his arms, holding her close. They exchanged soft smiles, their faces glowing with happiness. Sometime later, Chloe gave birth to twins. Damien couldn't hold back his tears. He cried over the most precious gift his wife had ever given him. The children grew up in the blink of an eye, wrapped in the warmth of unconditional love. Chloe carefully preserved all their memories, each one captured on a stamp and tucked away behind the secret cabinet door, right at the spot where she had once accidentally uncovered the truth about her husband and chosen to walk away. Now, that very place was filled once again with beautiful memories. And with that, the story Betrayal and Dignity comes to an end. Thank you so much for waiting, watching, and supporting Reven Ping Review. To explore more stories, check out the playlist and don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the next tales.